This groom tried to take off his bride's garter, but she lost it when she saw what he got instead. Sitting on a chair in the middle of the dance floor at her own wedding, Katie wasn't sure what was about to happen. Then she saw her husband put on a head torch and things quickly went south. Katie and James are an American couple who, like so many others before them, celebrated their wedding with all of their friends and family gathered around them. As is standard, their day started with a church ceremony where the official marriage took place. Then, once the church ceremony was over, all of the guests headed to the reception where dinner was served. A jolly party ensued with lots of kids running around, including the couple's cute young son, Caleb, who looked very smart in his suit. The newlywed couple chose not to miss out on any of the usual wedding traditions either. For example, the pair cut a cake in front of everybody at the reception, and Katie shared a dance with her father. Katie even threw her bouquet of flowers over her shoulder in line with traditional wedding custom. But it was something that happened later in the evening that raised a few eyebrows and made a few people laugh. It all sounded when the fairy light-clad reception room was filled with the sound of the Mission Impossible theme. Then, over the music, the DJ called James to the dance floor, and their family and friends gathered round to watch. Out of nowhere, James moonwalked across the dance floor as the wedding guests giggled and whipped out their smartphones to capture the scene. Meanwhile, Katie waited patiently on a chair in the middle of the room. What was noticeably strange about James' attire, however, was that he had dark sunglasses on despite being indoors. But somehow it fit in with the music playing in the background and his spy-like demeanor as he showboated around his bride. The groom stealthily slipped around the dance floor for a bit longer until it was time for the final tradition of the night. But what was it? Well, it was the removal of the wife's garter, of course. James fumbled with something for a few seconds before a beam of light shone out of his forehead. Now it was clear that he had been wearing a head torch for his whole routine in preparation for the next stage of the show. After a little more peacocking around the dance floor, James dove to the ground in front of his new wife. Fortunately, she couldn't stop laughing as her new husband lay there shining his head torch in all directions, and then he went under. That's right, James and his head torch headed underneath Katie's wedding dress, supposedly to find the garter, but it took the groom a suspiciously long time to find anything. And then he did something unbelievable. From underneath his wife's wedding dress, he pulled out something white, but it was by no means the garter. He held the item up in front of him and stretched it out so everyone could see. It was a pair of giant, stained white underpants. The wedding guests roared with laughter, and luckily, the bride did too. In fact, when most would have been completely mortified, Katie laughed and let James delve underneath again. This time, he went under for a very long time, only to emerge with something dangling from his mouth. What was it this time? To everyone's disbelief, it was a tampon. And again, the crowd screamed with laughter. The third undergarment expedition produced 2 fake babies, which James tossed into the crowd, and then finally the routine concluded when he emerged with what he had really been looking for. James retreated, sunglasses and head torch still on, holding the garter between his teeth. And Katie, possibly relieved that the performance was over, received a peck on the lips from her hilarious husband. The garter removal tradition dates back years, of course. In fact, some even say it goes all the way back to the Dark Ages. These days, fewer and fewer people include the ritual in their own wedding ceremonies, but some, like Mr. and Mrs. Reed, still enjoy the tradition. After removing the garter from Katie then, James threw it over his shoulder to his friends as an important symbol. In the olden days, it was deemed good luck for wedding guests to keep a part of the bridal gown, and so the tradition of the garter toss was born. While a lot of brides would have been mortified if their new husband subjected them to such embarrassment, Katie seemed to love it, and it will certainly be a wedding that their guests will remember for a very long time. Please share this story with your friends below.